See, first of all, whether it should be given an industry status or not, I'll just park that question for a while and build a preamble as to, why it is required. Uh, the late C.K. Prahlad, who was the international management guru in the US, he came to India a few years before he passed away, and he was involved in a very rigorous study called India at 75. And what essentially he tried to do, he tried to project a picture and evangelize in India, an independent India when it turns 75 years old in the year 2022, And he said, what kind of India we would like to have? And among other things, he said India as a country would need almost 50 crore, that's 500 million skilled people, skilled people in different professions, in different verticals, in different horizontals, And he said in these 50 crore people, English would have to be a common denominator in all these people if India has to realize its due place in the business community, in economic terms, and so on and so forth, in terms of GDP, in terms of per capita income, and various economic indicators that you could look at. So, because to make these people employable, that was considered to be a very, very important thing. And when we are talking about English, we are talking about working English. And these 50 crore people will have to be trained in various verticalized, variants of English language. Maybe English for retail industry, English for IT industry, English for manufacturing. Will be. I'm not saying the language changes, but lots of terms, lots of words, lots of semantics, undergoes a change. So this was one thing that I wanted to touch upon. And he also said that the growth rate of India, which at that point of time was around 8.5%, he said if we have these 500 million skilled Indians in the next 15 years then and now 10 years, our growth rate would jump to almost 11 to 12%, other factors of production remaining the same. And these skilled people will have to have the working knowledge of English, even if they are not very proficient in English. That's one thing I want to share with you. Other thing, a personal experience, I was the convener of, Government of India's Planning Commission's task force. And this was set up for, to look at how do you enhance employability, especially in India's higher education sector. That's what the study for the task force focused on. And we took almost a year. And to our utter surprise, we found that in all graduates and postgraduates put together, barely 10% of Indian graduates and postgraduates are employable. And if you look at the professional courses like BTech, engineering, business schools, and so on and so forth, the percentage improves to almost 30%. But again, a very, very small percentage looking at the kind of national resources which are going in educating these people, And there again, if you do a deeper analysis, then absence of soft skills, absence of employability skills, that was a huge gap. And again, within the employability skills umbrella, English was the single largest factor which people lacked, which did not make them employable. So this is the kind of situation, we suffer from. I also saw the British Council's efforts in Maharashtra, to teach the teachers at the secondary level, very, very good work being done. But the basic challenge is, how do you take a mission as huge, tell me how many countries in the world have a population of 500 million? Very, very few. Whatever we do, the number challenge is huge. Unless we scale up, doing a few successful pilots here and there is not going to work for the country at all. We need the numbers, and if you need the numbers, perhaps you need the industry status. Industry is, after all, not all that dirty a word. Even if things are done for profit, profit is no longer considered a dirty word. But if you need why industry? One is that you'll have the rigor of the industry. You'll have the discipline of the industry. You'll have national occupational standards in different verticals which will dovetail very, very well with the English requirements and so on and so forth. So I think, these are the kind of things which are very, very important. Otherwise, through a prism of timelessness, we'll keep on blaming that, how do we teach English in this country, where most of the English teachers themselves are not a product of a Catholic schools or English schools or public schools and so on and so forth. Then how do we ensure that the dream sees the light of the day? If the teachers themselves do not have the basic, most of them, I mean, there are exceptions, but especially in the rural India, in the Hindi, heartland, teachers themselves have not studied English well. How are they supposed to teach English? And then the story is not very different, in lot of vernacular belts all across the country. So it's extremely important that you should give, you should shamelessly embrace. I'll give the example of my own industry, IT. Today almost 8.5% of country's GDP comes from the IT and IT-enabled industry, and it has happened in the last almost 20 years itself, And if somebody asked me that what is that gave IT industry in this country a competitive edge? Let me tell you, just because the British taught us English. I mean, I don't hesitate in admitting that at all. If we say, no, our traditional engineering system had a huge rigor, that's the reason it happened. We had the time zone advantage, we had the early mover advantage and things like that. All those things may have had some role to play, but the single largest factor for Indian IT and IT-enabled industry doing so well is because when we were under the British rule, they taught us English as a language. But I mean, they could do only as much, we have to shamelessly embrace English language. That's another thing. A lot of times there are a lot of political undertones I hear in different belts in the country. No, it's not my mother language. Why should we take it seriously, and so on and so forth. Especially in Hindi heartland, you hear that these kind of slogans by politicians, by failed leaders, very, very often. English is not our language. Why the hell we should do that? Why the hell we should learn that? But if we have to progress as a nation, we have to shamelessly embrace English. That's very, very important to my mind. And the last point I wanted to touch upon was that, use of technology. If you do English language teaching with the rigor and discipline of an industry, perhaps you could leverage technology far more than you would do otherwise, I mean, somebody talked about, I think, Emmy's background, that she has done a lot of work in the, imparting English language using cell phones, including, using mobile phones. Similarly, I have seen lots of things, a lot of courses, pre-recorded courses, online teaching and so on and so forth. You could leverage internet. The government of India is going to have a rural, broadband at every panchayat level in the next 2.5 years' time, You'll have an outlet at every panchayat level where very, very high quality English teaching courses could be beamed or could be accessed from a central source at each panchayat level. And you even have interaction possible, a two-way interaction possible. So we have to shamelessly, once I said we have to shamelessly embrace English language, otherwise we have to shamelessly announce the depth of the distance. The sooner we do that, the better it is. We have to leverage technology and a lot of teaching. I'm not saying that, technology can ever replace good physical English teachers, or for that matter, any teacher in any discipline. But you don't have teachers. What do? And, can we afford to miss this bus of the demographic dividend that India is supposed to reap? If we skill our people, if we teach English to our people well, we can't deprive the country of that dividend at all. So we have to use technology. We have to teach English with the rigor and passion and commitment and discipline of industry. There is no doubt in that. I have some of the people whom I have mentored, and they didn't come from very good English background. Simple things I have told them, that you do one thing, you read an English newspaper in the evening, maybe at 7 o'clock, or whatever time of the day it could be. Time is not important, but suppose you're free at 7 o'clock in the evening, 7 p.m. in the evening. You read an English newspaper, as if an English newsreader on BBC or CNN is reading, And after that, you switch over and switch on the television channel and watch the reader read language. And after 15 minutes of very, very involved exercise, you try to repeat and copy and ape that English newsreader over BBC or CNN, and use again your printed newspaper and try to emulate them and imitate them. And I have seen very, very remarkable change people have undergone using such a simple and commonsensical formula, and which was a very, very rudimentary deployment and usage of technology. And things like cell phones, things like leverage internet, so much content exists elsewhere. But how does the proliferation of that content happens? That is the challenge. For proliferation, you have to have the mindset of an industry. You have to leverage technology shamelessly. You know, and I think it is so critical a requirement for the country that if we have to ensure that our demographics do not become you know, a disaster, and we as a country reap a rich demographic dividend, there is no other way. We have to teach, we have to learn English, and the country has to have a very, very you know, effective mechanism of delivery of English teaching. Unless that happens, you know, we would have missed the bus for all times to come. Thank you.